Okay, this is a little bit better. All right. Somebody let me know. Can you see the info view over here in the left-hand corner of my mouse? Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So again, the info view gives us useful information about all of the things that you hover over. We can show and hide it. Oh my goodness, this notation thing is just, we can show and hide it by clicking on this little eye. And most things in the Ableton are collapsible using these arrows. We can show and hide things. Um, so just by hovering over this icon up here in the left top corner, we can see that that is to show and hide the browser. The browser is separated into three sections. Two of which are kind of like your stuff, like your collections and stuff like that. That's these favorites at the top and these places that contain your packs, your Zoom stuff, your user library, and any folders that you may or may not have added. The who says control will hide me. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Daniel. Um, Yeah, and so our library contains all of our samples, our sounds, our drum machines, the instruments, audio effects, the MIDI effects that come with Ableton, modulators, which are things that move things, the Max for Live plugins, the third-party plugins, our clips, samples, grooves, which we'll get into, tunings, and templates. So all of our stuff that we kind of like need to make music and do stuff is there on the left. There's a search bar here. We'll dig into the search a little bit later. Very helpful tool. Gives us tons of options. This you know, how could I say, like, we can show and hide the groove pool, which appears here. We can show and hide the tuning, which appears just above it. I tend to not use tunings. I'm just not, making anything that doesn't require a normal tuning, or I should say the popular tunings. Um, this link function allows us to connect with collaborators. Let's say you have a friend who has Ableton on their computer or a link-enabled device. Through your wireless connection, you guys can actually collaborate, and the two DAWs will sync to each other and maintain the same tempo so that you can actually jam together. Cool function. I used it a lot for a very short period of time and then stopped using it just because, most of the time we were working on projects and not jamming. Um, but this tap function is to change our tempo. This is our tempo right here to the right of it. And the nudge down and the nudge up controls allow us to kind of like ease the tempo up or down a little bit when we're playing along with somebody who's playing a live instrument. But Ableton also has a built-in listening kind of thing. So when you arm an audio input, you set it up to record to like where you can see the levels bouncing and stuff like that. It actually listens to the input and tries to figure out the tempo, and it's gotten very effective at doing that. Is it perfect? No, but it's pretty good. It's really good. I'm very impressed by it. So if you want to hit the tap, you can tap and it'll change the tempo depending on how fast or slow you hit that button. If I hit it really fast, we get a high tempo. If I hit it slow, we get like a slower tempo. So just like that, we can kind of affect our thing. Now, um, this is our time signature 4/4. We can change that, of course. Most of the music that I do is in 4/4. I'm rarely doing anything other than that. You may find that you need that. This turns on and off the metronome. And actually, I should probably set Ableton so that we can actually hear it in my settings here. I'm gonna just go out through Zoom and we should be able to hear it. Can you guys hear that? Cool. All right, cool. And so this is to turn our metronome on and off. And we can also, through this little drop down arrow, change our count in. I leave it on 1 bar. Some people like 2 bars. Some people don't like it at all. You can change the sound of the click. You know, they've got a couple of options here. And you can also change the rhythm, like, you know, the frequency of like how often it clicks. And you can also set it to enable only when recording so that you don't hear it during playback, even if it is enabled. Um, you know, obviously the default is quarter notes, you know, so that's a thing. This thing, the next thing on our menu, we'll kind of get back into this, but this actually, Ableton has two distinct different views, and you can access the other view called session view by hitting this, I call it a hamburger, you know, or you can hit the tab key. And you guys might want to grab some kind of a notepad or your phone and take some notes about some of the keyboard shortcuts. I'll try to shout them out if I can remember them and as we move along. But the tab key switches between the arrangement view. I'm sorry, I think I called it session before. The arrangement view and the session view, which is what we're in now. Um, and this, I guess, quantization menu, so to speak, um, affects in this view when you have a clip playing, say this clip is playing, if I want to put another clip or enable another clip to join in with it, it'll actually wait until we come around to the next bar to join in and begin playing so that everything stays in sync with one another. Um, you know, which is very useful in session view. This is to enable the scale mode, which you know, obviously, like if we are in C major, it shows us all of the notes and stuff available in the show an example. I'm sorry, I just Estacia, I just saw your message. So what did you want me to show you? An example of I was kind of like speeding. You can enable your mic if you want. The 1 bar thing and how they can sing. Okay, sure, sure. That's simple. So let me see. I'll use one of my clips. Okay, so I got like this kick drum. I'll just throw this in here. Right. And I've got a pre-programmed hi-hat somewhere in here. Yeah, okay, like this house hat thing. So let's say that I have my kick playing my floor on the floor happening, and I want the hi-hats to come in next time around. If I just click play, it waits and then joins in, you know, instead of just coming in immediately. Like if I have this set to none, and let me stop that. It's just gonna start whenever I click the button, whether it's on beat or not. But if I set it to a bar or a quarter note or whatever, it'll wait and come in on beat. I hope that makes sense. Okay. And yeah, so uh the um the scale mode, right? So maybe I should put some kind of a musical instrument. I'll throw Serum on here, right? got my little MIDI keyboard. Um, I need to look at Daniel's. You see, Control Alt Shift. H. Let me try to remove these controls. Oops, that got rid of my screen. Hold on. Oh, oh, big fail. Whoa, I think I minimized everything in the entire universe with, with that. Oh, and the controls are still in my face. So, all right. Um, Let me do this the other way. Okay, so let's say that I have these this instrument enabled, right? I've got this thing here. Now if I enable scale mode here at the top and choose, I don't know, D minor, whatever, just randomly, you see it only highlights notes that appear in the D minor scale. So theoretically, like if I want to just play things that are in D minor, I can draw in notes or whatever. And I'm in the key of D minor. If I want to, let's say, let me just duplicate, get rid of these, and just look at the picture. So if I just like look at the colors along the left and make sure that these things fall within that scale, I know that I'm within D minor. And, and after let's say I'll record this. So I've got these two chords in here now. Let's say I just want to focus on those notes that I played. I don't want to see anything else. I can hit fold and it only shows me the notes that I've played. If I get out of fold and I enable scale mode, it's only going to show me the notes within the scale. So I won't see B or G sharp, because it doesn't fall within the key of D minor, which is, it's very helpful for someone like me who kind of grew up playing instruments and can hear, but I haven't internalized my circle of fifths and, scales and all of that kind of stuff. You know, and, you know, it's really helpful for people who don't necessarily play music. Um, it can put you in a place of like where even sitting in front of a keyboard, you can noodle around and find things that work or don't work, you know, just by kind of like looking and seeing, hey, this works, this doesn't work in that scale, and then I'll put it with this, maybe that works, this works, maybe that works, or whatever. And I know these things that I'm playing don't necessarily sound musical, but believe me, it's a game changer. Um, the other thing that I want to point out while we're here, and then I'm going to move forward with the rest of the interface, is this humanize function. These things that I've played here are very, I don't know, flat sounding. There's no real life to them. I don't have enough velocity enabled. Um, got someone entering the role. I don't have velocity enabled right now, but I'm gonna quickly enable the velocity, um, and I guess kind of show you where we can let me see. So I'm just creating a velocity map, and this is kind of technical stuff. I don't know why that's not enabled already in Serum. But in any case, something as simple as adding a little bit of feeling to this. If you just hit the you see immediately we get some variation. Now that's a lot. I can, here, just for the sake of argument, I'll level these up and make them exactly the same so that we're not getting like a lot of feeling in there. I'll make this insane. And if I want to randomize our velocity here, give a little, maybe even deviation, I'll select these as well so that they get some randomization. Um, what it's going to do each time is kind of which I guess, we're getting off into something a little technical. I'll come back to this stuff, but needless to say, it's like even without being able to play, if you have a little bit of time to noodle around with some of these controls and stuff, you can get yourself to sound very expressive, as opposed to just very flat and stale, and digital sounding, I guess. That's a word that we can use. Now, getting back to it, this button right here. Oh, and I should mention for the person that just joined us, if you could just enable your mic for a sec and let me know what level you're at with Ableton. Hello? Yeah, not hearing. Maybe you could drop something in the chat. Oh, they left. All right, thanks. Okay, cool. So essentially this follow function has to do with our other view. So if I hit the tab or hamburger over here and get to this, what that has to do, it's a very simple thing. This cursor here, if I hit play, it will eventually go off of the screen and we won't see it anymore. And I should probably disable this keyboard so we don't have to listen to that. But if I play with that off, I should say, it'll just head off the screen and we won't see it anymore. But with that enabled, it'll follow the cursor and update the screen so that we can see it. And that's essentially what that is. This, I should say these controls right here all have to do with this view. And it can be a little confusing for people that are beginners because we're seeing this number go up and it's giving us a bar beat count. You can see it moving over here, going up as I scroll through. And even as I play, it'll advance and and do what it's doing. And if I hit to stop, it'll kind of stop or go back to the beginning. If I hit stop twice, if I hit record, it'll actually begin recording in this view, you know. And so it is what it is. All of this stuff works in this view, but not in this view. While it is giving you a readout, it's not necessarily a readout of where we are because this is a 1 bar pattern repeating, but we're already on bar 3, So essentially, this readout, like I said, corresponds to the other view. And this readout for the clip, like if I double click on the clip, I can see our accurate readout for where we are in this sequence, you know. And so the rest of these controls kind of correspond to this view, except for these, which I don't know why they put them over there. But essentially, I'll skip to these since they correspond to this, which corresponds to this view. Um, what this is our loop locator, so it tells us where it starts and how long it goes for. So obviously this is a 4-bar loop. I can make a 1, 2, 3, 4. I can extend it forever. I can select things. And if you want to get it to loop to what you've selected, it's Command L and that'll lock in. Um, and I should let you know I kind of shut off my chat window. I closed my chat window. So if you want to hop in and say something, that's probably a better way to get my attention for now. Um, and this enables or disables this loop. And this is a record enabled for our in time and a record enabled for our out time. So in other words, even if I hit record, but my cursor is at 1, it won't begin recording until we get to bar 3. And it'll record. Right now I have it set for 46 bars. But whatever I have this end cursor set for, that's when it'll stop recording. But if I just enable this loop and let it record, it'll record continuously and create what we call takes, which allow us to kind of like say you're playing guitar and you make a mistake on the first pass, you just let it continue, and maybe a piece of the second pass is great, a piece of the third pass is great, and you can what we call comp those together, and kind of create one pass that sounds really good. That's our loop function. I'll get back to these in the other view. This is to and they like overdub our MIDI arrangement. If we don't hit overdub, it'll replace what we have there. So let's say I have a recording and everything is great. It's playing all of our notes perfectly, and I want to add to that. I enable this. It's enabled by default, so you shouldn't have a problem. And this is the record button that you hit to overdub, not this. This record button only works for this view. This record button works in this view, which again, like I said, some people get a little confused with that, but with a little bit of practice and repetition, it'll lock in and make sense. This is to print automation. You can arm your automation so that if you have a MIDI keyboard controller, or even if you're moving in control or something like this manually, it will record that. Without that enabled, it won't record the work. This is to return or re-enable our automation, because the way Ableton works, it's a little bit, this view takes priority. So even if you have something recorded and playing in this view, if you hit a button here in this view, this will take over. And the purpose of that is, like, say you're performing live and you want to depart from the recording that people are more familiar with, that they've listened to 1,000 times, and you want to ad lib or create a special experience for your listeners that are there at the show, you can depart from that and start firing off clips, or even record new parts while it's playing and then manipulate those as loops or whatever, and create like an immersive, completely new experience. And then whenever you're done with that, you can hit this button and it'll resume playing the other program that resides in this space. This button is also the same. It does the same thing, re-enable and bring us back to this view. Um,
I have a question.
sure.
So the record button at the top, I
Mhm.
thought that like when you arm the track, that records it. So what is the record button at the top for? Like,
This is to record in this view in the arrangement.
oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
But you can still arm the tracks in that view as well. So
Yes. Yeah. Well, you can record in this view. See, I don't know if you noticed, but like when I like right now, it's a stop button.
Right.
But as soon as I arm the track, they all turn into record buttons. So this
Right.
is how we record clips in this view.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Uh, I'm just confused. Like, what's the different? Like, what's the point of using the button at the top? That's for
That's
session
for
view
the arrangement view.
or arrangement view. Okay.
Yeah, this is like all of these controls right here, and these are exclusively for the arrangement view.
Okay.
And while they do kind of share some stuff, um, they're kind of, how could I say, they're for different parts of your process, so to speak. Um, there are so many people that I meet that completely ignore the session view and just use this view because they're familiar with this view, because Logic uses this view, Pro Tools uses this view, and so on and so forth. We can go on and on. Most DAWs have this view only. Um, but session allows you to do so much more. There are a couple of caveats of session view that we'll get into, but for the most part, allows you to kind of play around with ideas and figure out what works. For instance, you see these are all play buttons. These are stop buttons because there's nothing on it. Here, I got a play button here, right? I can hit this stop button and disable this clip or this clip. I can hit a stop button, or down here, I can hit a stop button. Or when I'm on the master track, I can hit stop and it'll stop all of them. Also, these rows that we can highlight one at a time, right? I can fire off everything in this row by hitting this play button. So it didn't just play the kick or the hi-hat, it played both. And if I want to like play this and then move on to our keyboard, which is probably not going to help us, but let's say for the sake of argument, I'll make a breakdown. I'll add the hi-hat. So we got this. Just like that, I've made like, let's call it our verse and our breakdown, and if I want to continue adding parts, maybe I can create an intro, a verse, a chorus, and so on and so forth. Just by like firing these off, I can have the different parts of our song. And once we have several parts, so to speak, we can record that into the um the arrangement, and let's see, just for the sake of argument, um I'll add, I don't know, let me add like a bass line or something. It's probably not gonna go so well. I got latency from the Zoom sessions. Okay, and let's see, just for the sake of argument. Um ah, so sorry. Pick any bass, I don't know. Probably the worst bass ever for what I'm trying to do. We add, I'll go retro. Probably. There we go. All right, so just for the sake of argument, I don't even remember what I played. Hopefully that worked with what we have there. Okay, great. So we got this thing now. Let me see. Do this. And this, let me just move this down. So I think we got, and forgive me, I know there's a mistake in there. I just whatever. This is what we're doing. All right. And so I'm just kind of trying to quickly create an arrangement, so to speak. Right. So
Um,
start here.
can you explain? I think you duplicated something. Can you explain like exactly what that's for? Like what you can do with it?
Well, I just duplicated our hi-hats and our kick drum and the bass and the I guess the synth to just create different parts. So I'm gonna actually record these into arrangement and you should hear the different parts playing together and how like certain things are present at certain times, certain things are missing at times, but they're creating I guess like our emotional journey from introduction to I guess we're doing a breakdown, so to speak. Um and then some other stuff. I don't even really know what we got here. I'm duplicate this and just make sure there's something with our hi-hat. Um and yeah, so I guess let's take a little journey, right? So I'm hitting this record button. This is gonna actually record into this view. You know, okay, worst song ever. Okay, so if we head over to this view, we can see that while it's grayed out, everything that I played, as bad as it was, is there. So we can play back that sequence. And then, so in this view, this is obviously called the arrangement view. This is where we create our arrangement. And I can still manipulate these parts if I don't like how that went. And I want to kind of change some stuff. Like, let's say I don't like this bass line here, and I'd rather have my synth play at that time. I can just copy it in and create that part instead of that bass section, so on and so forth. And of course, I could add, maybe I'll record a vocal here, I'll sing something on top of it, I'll record my guitar. We can add and add and add and then create effects and really flesh out a song here. Um, I can flesh out the bulk of my song here, but one of the pluses of this view is, like I mentioned earlier, where you can actually enable this loop thing and do takes. So say I'm recording vocals, I'm not the greatest vocalist, and I need to do it again and again to try to get it right. I can do that here. It won't allow me to do that in this view. It'll just give me one very long vocal take um, that I could chop up. I could drag into this view and chop up, but it's just easier to do it over here. Also, if I have a note that carries over from one bar to another, like say I got something that carries over this way, if this loop ends in this view, like it's a 4 bar loop, at the end of the 4 bars, even though I started to play a note here, it won't carry over to the next thing. And there's ways around that where you can force it, brute force it to make it do stuff like that by like writing a piece on the end of one and a piece on the other. But obviously that's easier in this view. And I hope I'm not getting too far off topic, but you know, and so does that make sense? Did I hopefully clear that up? Hello?
Yeah.
So so
Um,
essentially the session view is like a DJ firing off clips, and arrangement view is a timeline of the song, right?
Exactly, exactly. But I'd say session view is actually deeper than just firing off clips. Like you can explore like you wouldn't believe. And, one of the things that I love about it is like, once you head over to arrangement view, right, and you commit, I'm committed here. So if I want to, let's say I want to change this section of my song. Yeah, I can change it. I could add, let's say that I decide to add 22 parts, 22 different instruments. Yeah, I can add that, but what if I don't like that and I want to go back to the other one, or I only want to use 12 of them or whatever? It turns into a thing of like I'm locked into this, and let's say that I'm playing around with 8 bars and I decide that I want to do 12. It kind of turns into a very uh memory intensive thing where I might actually have to write down notes and remember where things are and all of that other kind of stuff to be able to manipulate this arrangement view, but still be flexible enough to go back. Whereas in this view, I could just add, and create one row for my alternate version. I could have an 8 bar version and then duplicate it and then maybe do a 12 bar version. And when I'm coming from here, fire off that 8 bar one. I don't like that. Let's come from here and we'll fire off our 12 bar one. I like that much better. So before I even print it and commit it to the arrangement view, I have a working arrangement, so to speak, and more. It does more in terms of like being able to build effects chains and all kinds of other stuff. You can really go crazy in this view. And explore and experiment, which I believe is one of the biggest pluses for Ableton. Um, Now, um, I kind of got off on a little bit of a, I guess, like a little journey in the middle of our explaining the interface. I'm gonna kind of cover a little bit more of the interface. Um, so this is what we call our brush tool. And if you hit it's actually drawing mode, but I call it brush because B is the shortcut. And that allows us to draw things. We can draw notes. We can draw automation, like different curves and stuff. If we hold down, what is it our option key? Um, yeah, option key allows us to kind of get finer increments. Um, and then there's also preset shapes that you can add by right clicking and adding those things in there. So that's the brush tool. This is our keyboard. If you hit M, like for MIDI, you can enable the what we call the MIDI keyboard, I guess, but this is actually our QWERTY keyboard on our computer. So by hitting, I guess I should probably enable this camera here. If I enable my camera, you should be able to see like a little keyboard here. So obviously I can play by hitting that, but when I enable this, I can use my QWERTY keyboard on my computer to play notes. And, so let's say I'm traveling and, I don't have my keyboard with me and I want to put in some map chords or whatever, I can do that using my QWERTY keyboard. And um, it's kind of laid out like a keyboard, um, a normal keyboard octave, um, with sharps and flats where they should be, I guess. So C, C sharp, D, C sharp, E, and then there's no E sharp, that would be F, and so on and so forth, starting from our A key, using the A and the Q rows. Um, so that's that. This key and MIDI enable allow us to map things using our QWERTY keyboard for key and our MIDI keyboard for MIDI. And essentially what that allows us to do is automate things. Like let's say that I want um this button here to go on and off when I hit my question mark, well, slash key. If I hit key and just click on this and then hit that question mark key, once I let that go, you'll see if I just hit my question mark key, it enables and disables track number 4 mute button, you know. So nifty function. Um, it's just that easy to kind of like map things, you know, to our QWERTY keyboard or our MIDI keyboard. This lets
Will
us
will
know
will mapping that key button also map a button or something on your MIDI controller as well, or just the keyboard?
exactly. Instead of hitting the key button for the
Yeah.
keyboard, you just hit the MIDI, and but
Okay.
it works the same way. Yep. And you know, same thing, you just hit MIDI. I guess I'll do the same button here and I'll try to, I don't know, my mod wheel. I don't know if this is gonna work. Yeah, it doesn't like that. That's let me see if I can try to grab something. I see it's receiving a MIDI, but for whatever reason it doesn't like that. I think that's because it's already mapped to something. Um, Let me see. Let me do this. Yeah, it's not liking that. But yes, it works the same way. I'm just, you know, not picking the right thing to move.
Yeah,
Um,
like so you could.
hello? Hello? Okay. Um, all right. Well, I guess I don't know what happened to the mic, but so this lets us know our sample rate right here. And also by clicking this, you can open up your audio preferences very quickly. To open up the preferences tab on Mac, it's Command comma, and on PC, it's Control comma, and that opens us up our preference pane. Um, we can see our CPU load and all kinds of information about memory usage, CPU. Again, we can configure the audio by opening this, um, you know, and but this little drop down and this 3% are letting us know we're using 3% of my CPU right now. This lets us know MIDI input data, and if we were outputting MIDI, you'd see this flashing. And I believe there's one for disk activity. Is this the disk activity? I'm sure not remembering right now where that is. I guess this is MIDI as well. Um, but I'm pretty sure somewhere there's one for keyboard activity. Um, okay, so moving right along. Along the bottom, we can show or hide our mixer panel by clicking this right here. And there's also, if I can get this to disappear, come on. This little drop down arrow, we can enable or disable components on the mixer panel. So this is our inputs and outputs. We have our sends, and you can see them kind of like appearing and disappearing in the mixer window. We can get rid of our volume control, or enable it, different track options, and there's also a performance indicator that shows you how much resources your computer is using for a particular group of plugins on a channel strip, so to speak. Um, you know, sometimes I like to leave that enabled. We have this crossfader here, which is kind of a nifty thing. It's on their master channel, and you can enable certain things to A, certain things to B, kind of like a DJ, and crossfade between them. So I'm only hearing things on the A strip. I'm hearing a little bit of both. I'm hearing only things on the B side. And that's kind of like how that things works when that's enabled. I'm gonna just hide that for now. Crossfader. This is how we see either our MIDI instruments or the clip on that track that I have selected. So let's say I have this track selected. It's showing us our MIDI notes for our kick drum here. I'll just enable that and play. You can see our notes here for the kick drum. And if I click on this, it shows us our actual drum machine that we have enabled on that track. And there's also a keyboard shortcut that allows you to quickly switch between the two. It's Shift and Tab. And Shift and Tab allows you to, instead of having to go up and double click. Oh, and I should mention, Ableton usually lets you do things 2 or 3 different ways. There are usually 2 or 3 different ways to do the same thing. So in this case, it's Shift Tab. We can also double click on the clip we want to see, or double click on the top of the channel strip to see the instruments. Or we can hit this to see the instrument and this to see the MIDI clip or the contents of the MIDI clip. There's also like I guess like a third kind of sneaky function, let's call it, where you can enable both. So if we enable this, we can see the clip and the MIDI stuff at the same time, you know. So that's that. Um, and I think there's a ton of stuff buried under these menus for our clips. And it depends on if we're looking at audio or if we're looking at MIDI. These change depending on, the content that we're displaying. So if I, for example, drag in, let me see, I found an audio, oops, a sample. I don't know what any of this stuff is. Let me just try to find something that looks like it's not my music. I don't know. Here we got an audio clip. So you can see the display is a little bit different from this MIDI clip that we have here. The MIDI clip obviously is showing our notes, and we have an envelope function here for, like, I guess this is pitch bend, but you can change that to whatever functions we have. We can show all and choose something, and it'll show us the different things that are automatable or movable, for that device or whatever it is that we have selected, like the channel strip or the sends and or whatever. Um, MPE, I don't have an MPE keyboard here, but um, let's just call that advanced MIDI functions. So there are some cool things you can do with MPE that you can't just do with the regular envelope. And MPE enabled equipment. Like, I don't know, say you got a pitch bend, you got 2 notes playing. With a regular MIDI device, if you hit the pitch bend, and you're trying to make something go kind of like a guitar, because pianos don't do that. We have hard increments that go from dun to dun, but we can't go like a guitar or a human voice. But an MPE enabled device, well, I guess a regular keyboarder allow you to shift and go using a pitched bend, but MPE will allow you to leave one note stationary and bend only one note, because a lot of times they have functionality actually built into the keys themselves, to like where you can slide up on the key and the pitch will change or the velocity will change or whatever have you. This is just a regular MIDI keyboard, so it doesn't allow you to do that, but that's MPE. So notes, envelopes, MPE. Whereas on an audio track, our options change. We can loop the audio, warp which allows us to kind of change the characteristics of our audio, and do a whole bunch of other stuff. We have to enable warp in order to be able to loop. That's one thing that you should be aware of if you're trying to click on loop and loop something and it's not working. Just remember you have to enable warp to be able to do that. And um, warp allows us to treat audio almost like it's, I don't know, elasticized. Look, oops, sorry, that's a little loud. Let me turn it down. So we've got that. I could stretch it. I could take a part and move it closer to another part and just kind of stretch it out like this middle piece. Or so we can really play around with audio and stretch it and warp it and do all kinds of weird things with it. And it's got different modes. This is pitch, repitch, which acts more like a turntable, like from back in the day, like where you had a pitch control, and if you slow the pitch down, it gets lower, and if you speed the record up, the pitch gets higher. Um, you know, texture is what we use for sounds like pads and things that have a lot of texture to them. Tones are more like things like a single guitar note, or something like that that's kind of, more I guess like one element. And then complex is what we use for um say an entire song or something, a very complex sample. And within these, they have their own functionality and stuff that you can play around with. We can pitch them.
Can you show us the pitch bend thing?
The pitch bend thing for like on
For your
MIDI.
sample there.
Well, we can't necessarily pitch bend a sample unless we're using this. But for MIDI, yes, we can pitch bend things. There's ways to do it, like for instance, I'll just automate this pitch thing here and I'll make it so that we can bend that. So we
Oh.
can bend it, but it's a little bit different from MIDI. When you start playing around with audio, it just behaves a little bit differently, and that's regardless of what DAW you're using. Um, if that makes sense.
Yeah. How did you do that again?
So I selected this pitch knob.
Okay.
I went to the envelope instead of sample. The envelope shows us whatever I click on, like volume or whatever. In this case, it's the pitch. I just selected that, created a point, created another point, and then dragged out, for
Oh,
that.
that's dope.
Yeah. So, so we can do all kind of crazy stuff. Get really crazy with it. So yeah. And that's one of the things I love about Ableton is because it has these layers. On the surface, it kind of puts things at your fingertips that you can play around with. But you can dig deeper and deeper and deeper, and there's levels, because like we can get into and I know these are subtle, nuanced things, but just playing around with the controls that are right in your face lets you
Right.
explore. And I mean, I got reverse here. I can, edit this thing, which I don't have an external editor, but we could drop it into the other view and chop it up and then put things in different places and then join them back together. It's really, you can go crazy. And like I said, even when we're looking at these different modes, there's just all kinds of crazy Okay, yeah, there it is. Looking at beats mode, like I'm dealing with transients now and beats, so we can I guess kind of quantize this, so to speak, and make it do things based on different beats. So let me not get off on a tangent with this stuff, but it's like the possibilities are endless, needless to say. It's just it allows you to really kind of go deep. Um, there Ableton allows these follow actions. I kind of don't want to dig into this a little bit because I forget how to use it because I don't use it often enough. But essentially, what it is it'll allow you can only play one. I'm sorry, let me turn that off. You can only play one clip per column here. So if I play, and I know these are all the same, so it kind of isn't making sense. Let me change the pattern. I'll do this, right? I'm hitting Command D to quickly duplicate. So, but it's only going to let me play one of these at a time. But with the follow functions, doing a little bit of calculus, because I can't remember how to do it right now. It's really not that complicated. I just don't remember. I can tell it for the next action, play the clip below it, the next clip below it. And then for the next clip, I'll tell it to play the clip above it. And hopefully I've just done it. I need to enable both of those. This one I think I didn't enable. So hopefully this will work. Yeah. Okay, so I did something wrong and it didn't go back up. But essentially you can make it, oh, I played, so previous. Maybe that is it. Still didn't do it right. All right, bad teacher. But but essentially, we should be able to get these things to go back and forth. I'm kind of persistent, so I'm trying one more time. Okay, so it's just gonna stick here. Now. But I think if I do this, no, follow action turn on. So yeah, you can see I kind of got it to do a round robin thing where it's switching by itself. And like I said, I don't use it often enough, so I forget in between bouts with it. It's capable of doing a lot more of that, a lot more than that. Um, but just from that standpoint, sometimes I use it to breathe a little bit of interest into my track without having to do a whole bunch of programming. Like I know I want this, and then that, this, and then that, or to this, and that, and then stop. And it'll do it for me. And I don't have to think about it anymore. So so those are some, I guess, kind of like the basic overview, which is why I said, it takes a couple hours to get through this. So we've just explored the interface, a little bit of like what it means to kind of like get started with producing something in Ableton. Um and I guess as for all intents and purposes, we barely scratched the surface of what Ableton is capable of, but I hope that by showing you this stuff, I've given you a little bit of understanding of at least the session view, and a little bit of the arrangement. Um, these things I should probably mention. Your template, may look a little bit different. Like your template will probably look more like this, when you initialize. In fact, you won't have any of this. and you'll probably have like 2 MIDI tracks and 2 audio tracks without instruments on them. So just for the sake of argument, I'll remove instruments, and try to make my thing look a little bit more like the default setup. So, okay, I should probably get rid of that. And I'll just get rid of this, right? And so we got 2 MIDIs and 2 audios. And they'll probably look kind of like this, so to speak, right? I like to pull this up twice so that I can see this number, because this is our volume. And without that, you can kind of see it, like eyeball it based on these, but I like to have an exact number so I know where I am. And if I'm trying to like duplicate things or whatever, it's easy to kind of like look at that number. I also like to, like, the knob is cool, but for me, I like to be able to see a number. So I tend to collapse my tracks down until I can see actual numbers, you know. And that's just my preference. You're welcome to work how you want. If you like knobs, cool, leave it, bigger or whatever. Um, I always wish there was a way to switch it to like have a big interface but see numbers. They just ignored my request and I stopped asking. Um, you know, so just going down the strip, these are our inputs. We can select our external or resample, which allows us to internally route things, or we can route another track into our track or have no input at all on the audio track. Monitoring, um, when you're using an interface and recording, sometimes I've noticed it's better to just shut this off so we're not getting that doubling that you hear if your interface allows you to monitor internally. If it doesn't, then you gotta deal with sorry guys, you gotta deal with the auto mode, um, and or input monitoring. Um, and and then we have our, I guess, our mute button, track enable, I guess is what they call it. I call it mute just because I'm old school and come from mixer boards. Um, and then we have a solo function here to individually play a track. Um, Again, and these sends and returns allow us to what we call bus. We can send and I'll demonstrate this with the instrument. I don't know, I just for the sake of argument, what I'll do, I guess I'll use a drum machine. I'll just put a drum machine on here. And okay, I'm gonna just put in like a little drum beat or something. Maybe or metronome. Okay, so common issue, this is probably not going to get fixed with this function, but quantize, right? I like to use the keyboard shortcuts. You can navigate to quantize. It's under this menu, this like second, I guess, or middle thing or whatever. You hit quantize and you see that menu. I tend to like to use the keyboard shortcuts, which are Command Shift or Control Shift on a PC and U, and that brings up that menu. And alternatively, once you select a value to quantize to grid or quarter notes or sixteenths or whatever, you can just hit Control U or Command U, and it will quantize to that last value that you used. In this case, this isn't really going to fix what I did here, because I'm kind of in between values. I'm doing eighth notes with one thing, eighths with another, and quarters with another. So we're probably not going to be able to fix this using quantize, but because my snare is off and I think I got a kick drum that's off. So long story short, I just dragged these over, but and just for the sake of argument, instead of me doing a big thing, I'll just okay, I should probably explain because um this it dragging these, there's two things here to drag. There's the loop and then there's the end marker. And if you hover over them, you get both of them. But just as easily, you could just use these numbers over here to change that, and so in this case, I would be going 0, oops, I'd be going 0, 1 to get what I'm trying to get up. Oh, why did I get 1 bar? I'm trying to get half a bar. Come on, buddy. Work with me. So I'm trying to get half a bar. So either way, and then I'm gonna right click, like you gotta disable the draw tool. But if I right click and I click crop clip, it just gives me that little selection that I made, and then I can duplicate that just so I don't have all of those mistakes, but I have that one perfect bar that I had, or one perfect half a bar that I had. And so all of that to kind of like get you to this point of this send. If I click this send, notice we start to hear reverb. And if I click this send, we hear delay. And the reason for that is because over here, by default, we have a reverb and a delay. And what it's doing is sending a little bit of signal from this track into this track, and then, routing that back into this channel and letting us hear it from this track. So instead of me throwing a reverb directly on this channel and only having reverb on that channel, I could have reverb from this channel. Maybe I want a lot on that channel. Maybe I want only a tiny bit on this channel. And I have all of my elements in the same room, so to speak. Because let's face it, in the real world, if we're standing in a room talking, we're all in the same room. We're not in several different rooms, and so it kind of emulates and allows us to kind of simulate a real world experience, so to speak. So I just use this, and I can determine how much or how little I want to use, but I've got my elements in that room, so to speak. And it's, again, we could not use that and we could just throw a reverb on that. Well, I guess I don't have a reverb in there. Here, I'll just throw an echo on it. I could throw an echo on this channel. Oh, that's not enabled. I gotta fix that. Okay, so I'll throw a delay on it. And that's directly on the channel itself, So either way, but I tend to like using sends and returns because one, you save on your CPU power. I mean, let's say I got 107 tracks and I want 107 reverbs that all kind of sound the same. You know what I mean? But it doesn't make sense to instantiate, 102 instances when I could just use one, to solve that problem. But there are instances where you might want to use one instrument, or one plugin, one instance per channel. And I guess so I'll stop talking and allow you guys to kind of ask, is there anything that you want me to dig into a little bit deeper, re-explain, maybe even expound upon or whatever. Uh, oh, and I should probably open up my chat window. If someone's talking, I can't hear you. Any questions at all? I
I
know I
guess.
wasn't
You
that
just,
good.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, when starting like a brand new like new song or whatever, like what's kind of your process? Like you do drums first, like what's kind of your flow?
Oh, I have a lot of different ways that I work. There are those times when I start with drums, especially like if I'm making EDM and I know it's going to be four on the floor. I have that little nifty preset that I created, throw this guy in there, just, you know, hit go, so to speak. And so it's easy enough to just build from there. But sometimes I have a chord progression in my head I want to get out. Or I'm sitting with a guitarist or somebody who has something going on, and usually I have them play to a click just to make my life easier in the end. We kind of agree upon a tempo and then, I give them a click track and let them play. And even if they're just noodling around, we're not even going to use that, but to just get something going to build around. A great chord progression is a great chord progression. And if you've got, say, a section and a B section for a verse, and then maybe even an alternative like a chorus or a pre-chorus, um, that's we've got the foundation for possibly an entire song just between verse, pre-chorus, and chorus. What else do we need? A bridge. And I know in terms of electronic dance music, they call them drops and breaks. Instead, alternatively, you got intro, break, drop. uh, but essentially it's the same thing, creating those patterns. Um, Another way that I work alternatively is where I just focus on sound design. I took a long time learning because I guess of my involvement with film production and stuff like that, learning how to model and create sounds. And then I took it a step further because some of the studios I had actually had some of these analog keyboards that we love to emulate, like the Juno and the Moogs and all of that other stuff. We had a Moog, we had a Oberheim, OB8, we had I had a Juno 106, I had a Korg Poly 6 keyboard, and tons of other things. And so the idea of like learning how to program those things from scratch really appealed to me. So I took some time to like really dig in. So sometimes I'll just take time designing a sound from scratch or noodling around. And you'll see like I encourage everybody to play around with that because just something as simple as like what I'm gonna show you here, like I'll just start with Serum, right? So I got Serum, I instantiate, and then I'll just enable a filter. And this keyboard, I believe, um, well, believe I can. Okay, I don't know why my keyboard's acting right now. Let me just unplug and replug because it normally maps. That's weird. It's mapped to on and off. It's normally mapped to the cutoff filter. So let me try to do that. and it mapped to something. I don't know what it mapped to. Something audio mapped. It just definitely mapped to something. Let me see. I gotta move this and then I can say, oh, note control. All right, so that's not what I want. So cutoff filter and this knob. And why is it not showing up? Okay, it's showing up now. Here we go. So I don't know why it's like mapped to. Okay, so something as simple as that. Just being able to can make for an interesting performance. Like just being able to move, you know, that one knob allows me to breathe a little bit of emotion into the performance. And if I, you know, pair that with say like resonance and drive, you know, now we can really start to get into some interesting stuff, you know. And it's so the whole idea of like sound design appealed to me. And, you know, when you are able to kind of create something that has some depth and emotion and feeling and stuff like that, I feel like that's the great recipe for beginning a track as well, you know. And of course, I'm playing the worst chords ever, but you get it. And we had another question.
Yes, hello.
Mm-hmm.
May you go through like the drum, like the drum rack, or like
Sure,
about the drums?
sure, we could dig into the drum rack a little bit. And I just wanted to confirm, I think it was Daniel that asked, did that suffice? Like my answer?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool, cool. All right, so drum rack, right? I'll start with I guess an empty drum rack. So, right, the command keyboard command to set up a new MIDI track is Command Shift T, and to set up an audio track is Command T. And for a PC, it's Control Shift T or Control T, you know, for MIDI track or audio track. So I'm just gonna use this yellow track that I just created and instantiate a empty drum rack. Now, you can drag anywhere on the track or even down here to put the drum rack on it. Or if you have, alternatively, if you have that track selected, you can double click and it'll populate to that track. Just be sure that you don't have like another track selected, because if you double click, it'll populate there and replace whatever you have, you know. So there's that, right? The drum racks, the default drum racks that come with Ableton are set up so that we have these two octave, well, actually that's my drum rack. Let me give you a default. So this is a default drum rack, right? You'll see that it has these two octaves right here populated already with sounds, and they tend to follow the same pattern, in terms of like where things are. The kick drum is always going to be on C1, so oops, I'm up. It's always going to be on C1. C sharp is usually going to be a rim shot. D is usually going to be a snare drum. The clap is usually going to be C sharp, and so on and so forth for conga. Hi-hats are usually on F sharp, G sharp, and A sharp. Usually you're going to end up with a closed hat, a pedal hat, and an open hat, but in this case they have a tom-tom there, and so on and so forth, up to like cymbals and rides and stuff like that. But they're usually set up, generally speaking, the same way. So I try to keep with that pattern, because what you end up with is something that I translated. I made this drum beat, and if I change to another drum kit, I'll select one of the defaults. You see they all pretty much play beat, no matter what drum kit. Now there are some exceptions that don't actually line up, but for the most part they line up. So I try to stick to that scheme, so to speak. And so you end up with this thing, you start with this thing. I select C1 to begin with. Just understand, you can put pretty much anything on a drum pad. It doesn't just have to be a drum sound. Of course, we can use drum sounds. So if I just look for like one-shot drum sounds, I got this thing. Let me try to find I guess, I look for a kick, right? And I guess I could just select kick and it'll find it for me, right? So I could use, oops, get to C1, right? I got this, I don't know, trap 808 sounding thing here. Or any kick drum in there, right? Ableton has this cool thing where it'll find similar sounds. So let's say that I like that kick drum, it'll populate this list with only sounds that sound similar to that. And this preview volume is, you can raise and lower this volume using this headphone icon over here. That's your preview level. I actually like this little FM kick thing here. Not so much when it's loud. Let's see, oh boy, some of these are pretty ridiculous. So like, but in any case, you can drag a sample there. But also, you can drag an instrument. Now, the downside to dragging an instrument is that you're only going to play that one note. We'll be playing C1. And I guess we could add it to D if we wanted to play two notes. No, I guess it's going to play that C1 again. So that's the downside to adding an instrument. But it'll work for a one shot or a sound effect. Like let's say that for instance, I don't know, like I use Serum and just create like a little sound effect right quick. And I don't know, I just do something like noise. Turn this off. I use noise. Let me move this thing out of the way. Use noise. And maybe just for the sake of argument, I use white noise. I'll just create like a sweep, like a down riser or something. Let's do this, test it. And I want this to be an envelope. Or actually, no, what I want is to just make it last for 2 days. Where do I have retreat? I guess I didn't set the mod, and it's covered up so I can't see it. Yeah, I didn't set the modulation. All right. Oops, and it's set to A, so I need it on N. Okay. Just, how can I say this Zoom control covering everything is not helping me one bit. So, let's say I got like a cute little sound effect there. I could add, I don't know, a reverb with the kind of a long tail and maybe I'll make this happen faster. So we've got this sound effect now.
That's so dope.
And that drum rack, so along with our beat, we could have our sound effect. Again, you can drag almost anything to this rack, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a drum sound, you know. But for the sake of argument, right? I don't know, I'll move this out of the way. And I've got some drums sounds and loops and stuff loaded in here. I guess I could put a loop in, but I don't want to just do a loop. Let me kind of, I don't know. I'll just add, I don't know what I got here. This track, drum loops, blah, 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 blah. What do I got here? I know what I want to put in there, but it's not in this list. You know what? I got Cashmere. That's what I'll do. Cashmere, he's got some decent sounds. So drums, I got some one shots where the kicks, he's like a punchy kick. And maybe I'll put what should I do? I guess, I kind of want percussion, but I'm not trying to get off on a tangent. So I'll just use a closed hi-hat. Okay, so I'll close hi-hat. And again, I've remembered kind of like where these belong so that they line up with everything else. And let's see. I guess I should put a snare in there. I don't like these snares so much. But I'll try it. Sure. For the sake of argument. And let's see, do we have claps in there somewhere? Sure, we got claps. I use regular clap. I'm intentionally choosing sounds that are kind of dry. Let me turn this down quite a bit. Actually. Oh, and I got this thing. I'm sorry. This is part of my template. Shouldn't be that loud. Okay, so I can't play this at the same time. Ah. I don't know if I can pull this off. Thanks. And I got that thing playing. Let me turn this up. Okay, did a pretty terrible job, but you get the idea. You know, like turn this off. Oops. Why does this keep going on? And it's kind of hard to do this with the Zoom thing because Zoom adds latency. Okay, so and I guess I could do this, right? So just like that, we've, you know, created our drum, you know, beat, so to speak. Now, did you want me to dig in deeper to the drum rack or, you know,
Is the drum rack also useful in the arrangement view, or is it more so preferred for the session view?
you can use it in either view, you know, either or, because like once you're over in a ring, hey, Paul, yeah, thanks, bro, for coming. You know,
No, thanks to you. It was brilliant. And if you're doing anything else, you have my email details, I guess. So I'll be keeping an eye. But this was brilliant. Thank you very much.
you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad I could be of help.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Okay, take care, Eli.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you so very much. I had the most wonderful time listening to you and seeing you go through this. I really appreciated this.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Glad to be of help.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, I was saying that in this view, it's still active as long as the track is armed. I can turn this loop thing off. You can record right in this view. Remember, we're using this button. Now, I got other things playing in the background, so it sounds very confusing, but generally speaking, yes, you can record in this view as well. And if you notice, I kind of deleted it before letting it show up. It appears grayed out because we've been working in the other view, but the remedy is to either hit this to re-enable all the tracks or this one to just enable this one track that I selected, you know. So either way, you know, one thing to be aware of is if this track is already playing and you hit this record button, it's just going to record this. So make sure you stop that before you record something in the other view. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, cool. Cool. And I guess if there's no other questions or whatever, I mean, I don't want to, you know, put everybody to sleep. I just, you know, you know, I had a really good time. I'm glad I could be of help. You know, I'm thinking we're probably gonna do a follow-up. I don't have a date yet. You know, or even enough of an idea of the topic yet from some of the people that asked. But I'm thinking probably gonna just share this video. Um and we'll take it from there. Like, you know, if there are questions, follow-ups, and people have ideas about what they want to dig into, we'll do that. But unless there are other questions, I think we kind of, you know, got through some basics. And yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you for doing this, man. And I mean, I could sit and listen all day. I know we got things to do, but yeah, I've enjoyed this, and I would like to another video or another Zoom call or whatever.
Sure, sure. Just, hit me up and we'll figure it out, or, even add on to the thread on Reddit or whatever. And
Yeah.
we'll figure it out. I'm definitely up for it. You know, and as much as I can help, I'd like to help. Where I forgot to ask, where's everybody located? I know I move around a lot. Like, I'm usually between Atlanta and New York City, kind of frequently these days. Um, I travel a lot. I've been kind of like in South Carolina and in New York and in South Carolina and in New York, then Atlanta, South Carolina, New York, Virginia, Delaware, Baltimore, DC, Connecticut, even Philadelphia, so I move around quite a bit.
I was gonna say you sounded like you got a little New York accent or something. I could hear it a little bit.
Yeah, I'm from New York originally.
Oh yeah, I could tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is what it is. And but yeah, I'm always, trying to make myself available to people, because that's, one of the things for me, like when I was coming up in the business, was that I was amazed that, like super important people would just open up and share and be super cool. The people who were jerks were usually the ones who weren't as talented. But
Right.
the people who were like really like, movers and shakers, even business people, you know, like I'm so blessed to have been in a room with so many people. I mean, Grammy Award winning artists and producers, and I mean, even my own team, people that recruited me are just, it's like, oh my goodness, I'm still in awe, and I've done stuff with them, but I'm still like, when I met Eddie, um, DJ Eddie F, it's like, I, it's kind of bugged out because we had sort of crossed paths, but never met for like years and years and years. So when I met him, he was like already established and had sold like over 250 million records. So just to kind of have him inviting me to his home, and our whole group, not just me, but everybody, inviting us into his home and just making himself available and sharing opportunities and all kind of stuff. Just from day one, he was just very welcoming, open, and warm. You know what I mean? Trying to give us as much time and attention as we needed. So, so I try to do the same thing. I try to carry myself the same kind of way. And I'm hoping that, we can create a new breed of musician. We got enough jerks. We need cool people. Like,
Right.
uh, so yeah, I guess, unless anybody's got something else to add, Eli or whatever, I guess I'm gonna end the chat. And is anybody still here? I can't even see the screen.
Still here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, any other questions, add-ons? You want to play a song or something? I could stop the video recording. Like, you know,
Hang on, let me find my phone because I'm the one. I commented something about a sample I was trying to use, but I forgot what I was saying. Hold on.
okay.
Uh,
I have no more questions.
oh, I already got that figured out. Okay.
Okay.
I have no question. Just wanted to say thank you again for doing this. Very much appreciated.
Yeah, you're so welcome. And I'm glad I could be of help. And again, write down, take down my phone number if you want to reach out, feel free. Just, text me so I know it's you. Um, and yeah, that's, it is what it is. Um, I will say this, like in terms of samples, use them, but just understand they come with a handful of like legal issues, and even in terms of like sharing stuff on platforms, depending on the sample itself, you may have people
Yeah.
coming after you unless it's royalty free.
Yeah, I had seen some people talk about it and they made it seem like you wouldn't really get in trouble like that unless it like blew up. You know what I'm saying? But I
Yeah.
just wanted to make something with it. I didn't necessarily want to publish it. I just wanted to fool around on the Ableton thing and just,
Oh yeah. Yeah,
but
so just in terms of playing around, you're fine. It's when you go to share it, you'll find that
right,
sometimes you'll get flagged, like if the copyright owner is really enforcing, they may it could be something that's just a cease and desist order. In other words, YouTube will pull your thing down. And it could be as simple as that. Generally speaking, nobody's coming after you. If you're not making any money, they're not coming after you. And if you are making money, the smart ones will wait until you make a whole pile of money and then come take it, you know?
right.
So, but it is what it is. I mean, things are changing. I almost feel like intellectual property rights are dead at this time to some degree. Like none of that stuff matters. People are just doing stuff and there's so much going on. And I mean, you could even, you know, do something like take something that you like, take that sample, upload it into like a AI platform and ask it to spit out something that's similar but different. And,
Right.
and then use that sample, you know, and
Right.
so we're in a whole different world, like which is why I said intellectual property rights are kind of dead. Like I'm not saying that nobody's enforcing them. I'm not saying that you can't put yourself in a situation, but I would say that you stand a better chance of getting noticed using a sample and then not, if for whatever reason you don't get pulled down because you do it as a cover tune or, a derivative work. That's another.
What I did was I just took the song and I took the instruments away from it. So I just have the lyrics and I like messed with the what do you call it? Like
The melody.
no, yeah, but that's not what it's called on Ableton. It's one of the knobs. And I just like lowered the volume of the voice.
Uh-huh.
Like so if you heard it, you probably wouldn't be able to tell. I mean, unless you already know the song, you know what I'm saying? You wouldn't know that
Mhm.
it was a sample.
Okay.
Because I
Okay.
took the instruments and stuff away from it. But yeah, it ain't even done yet. I was just fooling around trying to figure it out. But
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, yeah, definitely play, explore. And I'd say this even, I'm gonna offer a piece of advice. And I say this even as a beginner. In fact, I feel almost as a beginner, you have an advantage, because um a lot of times, making music, we want to have something that's perfect before we share it with the world, before we premiere it.
Right.
And I'm not saying that you shouldn't sow your gold too early, so to speak, but there's something to be said for honesty, for just saying, hey, I mean, it's a silly little thing. I don't know what I'm doing, but I hope you like it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, it's somebody reminded me because I posted a thread where I was trying to learn something about, I guess, that space between being a hobbyist and kind of like getting more serious with what you're doing.
Right.
And somebody in a thread reminded me about just playing for the love of playing music. You
Right.
love playing music. I was like, you know what? I forgot about like what it feels like to just sit around a campfire and somebody pulls out a guitar and starts singing. They're not a singer, they're not a guitar player, but they know a song, and before long, we're all like clapping our hands and singing the song.
Right.
So that's a thing. That's a real thing. And it's like if you can capture that energy or get other people to vibe with you, who cares that you're the greatest singer or not or whatever, especially if like you develop the skill of being a great songwriter, telling a great story, something very relatable. It becomes far less important like what your voice sounds like, or if the song is maximized and it's got a great mix. It's like, nobody cares, like, yo, that's a dope song. I like that song. You know.
Right.
So, yeah, so I would encourage you, like, as early as you feel comfortable telling your story, so to speak, because it's even less about like your song, it's more about like, what are you about? What are you trying to accomplish? Why is it important for, and I'll say this, like, I'm gonna kind of, if I can find my controls, let me try this thing for a second, right? This is kind of unrelated, but kind of related. Um, Uh, I don't know if I can pull this up. I'm gonna go from my desktop again. Let me just close this out. I can delete that. I need this stuff. Right. So this thing right here. Let me try to pull this up. I'm working on this proposal down south, but it's kind of a follow-up to something we did, right? So let me see. So, I mean, you can see the flower. Um, Trying to find the originals of, right. Try to pull out the videos that don't. So, see, there's a video somewhere in here I'm trying to get rid of. Right. So, I have a friend, who, when we were kids, his little sister got killed.
Mm.
Um, and we were little kids and we're old guys now, but what he did is he found this plot of land kind of almost directly across from where she got killed. And it's this space here that is next to this nursing home where they tuck old folks in there to kind of be forgotten about. And then this is kind of like a a a wetland that is protected land, but we found like just to the right of this, people are just like dumping their garbage and stuff. And it was just starting to just, look really crazy and all of that. So we stepped to the city and asked them to grant us this land. And, you can see this sign, it's dedicated in honor of his sister Imani. And the state recognized him, and I
Aw.
guess kind of us, and and that land is kind of like becoming this thing. But I mean, that's not the
Y'all
best
growing
part.
vegetables or what is that? Just plants?
Yeah, the like plants and vegetables and stuff,
Okay.
sunflowers, it's collard greens. I see corn, like these tall things are corn. Um, and broccoli and all kinds of stuff that, some of them are just flowers. But the best part about this is that these old folks, and on the other side of that is a housing project where, people are just like shooting at each other and you know, doing drugs and all kind of crazy stuff. And it's kind of when we open this up, I wasn't there that day, but he called me and I could hear kids running around in the background and playing and and he was like, "Yo, we did it." He's like, "There are old people, senior citizens hanging out with teenagers, putting their hands in the dirt together, and they're talking. These people never talked before." You know what I mean? And
Right.
it's like we got the beginning of a community coming back together where we
Right.
have all of this wisdom dying in a nursing home, just going to waste. And it's like, so I was just like, we got to do more of that. And we all make music. We're all martial artists. We all kind of try to give back and do our part. And I was just like, we got to do more of this. So I'm actually trying to do that down south. I have a friend that
Where at?
comes
Where at down south?
in Florence, South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's I'm trying to do a garden down there in honor of my friend Q. He was a DJ. He passed from sickle cell anemia. And we're also trying to do others in different places, but those are less further along. But it's just kind of like music is the backdrop for that. You know,
Right.
it's like everybody likes music, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like I say, we've been making songs about love and and drugs and partying and all kinds of stuff. You know, I personally I don't smoke, drink, or gamble. So, I'm kind of not a womanizer. I'm not, you know what I mean? I've been on the scene, you know what I mean? I'm older now. I'm like, we can stop talking about that. I'm not,
Right. You've been there, done that.
yeah, I'm not mad at a love song. I get it, but I'm just like, we got so much other stuff to talk about.
Right.
You know, so much. There's so much to talk about. I mean, I'm Black in America, and I'm part Native, so there's that. We could talk revolution and empowerment, equality. How about justice? How about, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It's solving some of the problems that people have. Like, one of my mentors always used to say, if we could solve some of the Black man's problem in America, it would be good for everyone because we have all of the problems. We have the health problems, we have the financial problems, we have educational problems, we have drug problems, we got like all of the problems. So if we could
Right.
figure out how to solve these problems from a disenfranchised person without opportunities, it's what I mean. It's good for everybody. Like what kind of, and even from an environmental standpoint, it's usually the disenfranchised neighborhoods where pollution is the greatest and the environmental impact is the greatest, and we all need clean air to breathe. We all want safe beds at night. We all need an education. We could build the nation. You know, and I'm saying, why not talk about that? Like
Right.
like you're on stage telling everybody, "Hey, put your hands in the air and scream." Like, well, same way you can get them to do that. Hey, everybody, I need help with a project I'm trying to get done.
Right.
This lend a hand, like let's be human for a minute. I could parade around in my sunglasses acting cool and being untouchable, but you know what I mean? There's so much we could be doing as artists, and I'm saying art is, oh my goodness, I've seen people doing some like there's a illustrator I became acquainted with like years ago, and she took her illustrations and created a comic book because
Okay.
her pardon?
I said, oh, okay.
Yeah, she created a comic book because I believe that her friends' parents were being detained in another country without any real, because I think they were Chinese and they had moved to America, and when they went back to China, they basically detained them because they were like, you're a disgrace to China. Like,
What?
you became, you became corrupt with American ideals and all of this. And they were just like detaining them. And, and so she created a comic book to create awareness that actually led to them being released.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was just like, we can do some stuff with our art,
Right.
There've been a ton of songs that created awareness for different circumstances, that even led to like movies being made about different things and all of that kind of stuff. So we as artists have a lot of power, and so that's, I say that to say, like, I guess hopefully motivate you to, be creative, link with other creatives, and, use your power,
Right.
to all of us. So, so with that, I'm gonna end my sermon for today.
Okay.
But it's great having you guys. Astasia,
Astasia.
Astasia.
Yeah.
So Astasia, Zay, Eli, um, thanks for coming. I'm glad I could be of help, and stay tuned for more. Hopefully
For
we.
sure.
Will do. Thanks,
Yeah.
Eternal.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'll be
You're
looking
welcome.
out for like the follow-up, and after I've played around with it for a while, like might have some more questions. So
Same.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Perfect. That's what I'm looking for. All right. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You do
All
have a
all right.
good
right.
one.
You too. Bye, y'all.
Peace.